This is the prehistoric forests, a land that will experience 100 years of change from a lush yet ruthless ecosystem, various natural disaster events, and even an apocalyptic extinction. Experience how the unique and strong dinosaurs will survive throughout, and of course the weaker ones meet their unfortunate end. This is simulating a prehistoric forest for 100 years, and in year 1, our ecosystem is already accompanied by a few residents. Swift and curious, a pack of Archaeornithomimus are already rummaging through the bushes. If not eating each other's poop dust, these two-legged runners are great for covering the vast lands ahead, which is this giant multi-ecosystem that I will tell you more about soon. And the berries here are well enough to keep them very energized, an ability that the tiny dinosaurs don't have, but make up for it with their small sizes to hide amongst the foliage. If not careful, they're just about the perfect bite-sized dino nuggets for our vicious carnivores coming soon. But before that, bigger herbivores had already established themselves into the environment, with the striking Alorotitans and the mix of ceratopsians like Torosaurus going to the forest line where they're comfortable, and the strong Triceratops stepping in. This is Brute, Torp, and Bonnie, all brothers and very tough plant eaters, but right now their main worry is territory, and the Torosaurus are on their way. Brute, the orange one, is the meanest and the most hard-headed, well literally as the two smashed heads and locked horns. Now completely a test of strength, Brute slammed the poor Toro into the ground, leaving many wounds and a major fracture. The other Torosaurus tried defending each other, but Brute's absolute aura is just too strong. Their next battle for territory was the river, and the injured Toro goes for a healing drink. Brute didn't like that, and the shyer, more cautious Torp got spooked by the commotion and blindly lunges forward, killing the injured Toro. His tougher brother goes for the other Torosaurus, forcing it to find another territory to live and survive. You see, this is how cruel territories will play a part in this video. Even interspecies like Bonnie, the eldest of the Triceratops, bullying and exiling the weaker member of the family, Torp, to flee away from their group. And just in time, several more dinosaurs are about to come in to challenge the land. But first, let me introduce you to the whole ecosystem and what crazy things are up ahead in this video. This is mainland, a large vast environment divided into different sections, starting with a dense forest hill, abundant in healthy trees, berry-filled shrubbery, and hiding spaces for any of our dinosaurs, rolling down into a sweeping river flowing across the scape, and the main source of water for the whole ecosystem. Over this pristine river, you can find an open field tufted by heavy grazing over the years, and watched over by an occasional few ginkgo trees and rocks. Different from the other side, where a flower bed meadow had grown over a flat grassy plain, perfect for grazing herbivores. In the middle, there's a mysterious crater, pooling with water and a source of fishes, that unfortunately wash into this puddle from the river. You can't help but to think what caused such a land formation. Will we see it later? Well, you see, over the years, this mainland will experience several harsh natural events, pushing new unique dinosaurs into the ecosystem and see which of them can actually survive until the final, most dangerous event, on top of many more different areas like the lab, the muddy creek, and the rock fields, with even more dangerous dinosaurs that will eventually combine with the mainland. But right now, in the lush phase, with plenty of meat piles available and a plethora of plants, some dinosaurs are entering to take advantage of it. Well, in the case of the peaceful Apatosaurus, this pod of sauropods is looking to nibble on the nutritious trees around. In most cases, the herbivores now can live in harmony for the rest of time. So let's ruin it, as the evening light welcomes our first carnivores. This is Copper and Ink, a pair of hardened baryonyx, carnivorous, sharp teeth, and scary. These guys are excellent in the waters and will excel if any rainy seasons come, I say with strong foreshadowing tones. But speaking of preparing for new seasons, let me tell you about Z-Biotics, and stay tuned as they sponsored their own dinosaur for this video. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I mean, come on, the only thing usually stopping you from an amazing night out is dreading the feeling afterwards. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into bad toxic byproduct in the gut. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's the blame for being your absolute worst the next day. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now that I've tried it, literally people, it helps so much. And I want it to help you too. So click the link in the description to get 15% off your first order at checkout. Plus, Z-Biotics offers a 100% money back guarantee, so if you're not satisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. But also use it to cheer on the dinosaurs Z-Biotics had sponsored for us today. Anyway, surprisingly very passive for their looks, the herbivores are not in trouble yet. Well, until the immediate entrance of our next carnivore. Here to shock the city is the infamous crime-fighting Ceratosaurus trio. Juno, with a red heroic mask on its eyes, he's ready to take on the villains. Casper, with striking orange scars that matches his curiosity and hunger. And Artie, he's sleepy and normal, kind of boring actually. With tension building as the new carnivores enter, a fight for territory is already brewing. The battle for Meat Island. Casper was the first to sniff it out and heads towards it, but the Baryonyxes are already there. He snuck in and got a quick bite, but Copper had no intentions of sharing. Chasing the hungry Ceratosaurus away, the two were quick to think the meat heaven were all theirs to gobble on. But Casper is too rash to give up, this time bringing his brothers. They stood guard, defending the meat pile by the water bank with power in numbers and intimidating roars. An impenetrable wall that our other carnivores surely can't pass and oh, wait, how did you get here? Okay, now so they fight. Ink struck Casper in his hind legs. Moving into darkness, it forces Casper away, while Juno is in his own battles with Copper as the two exchanged bites, but the force of a Ceratosaurus is just much stronger. Both Baryonyxes retreated to the river with many injuries. Ink finds comfort in the fishes of his favorite crater, while Casper is being an absolute nuisance to the Apatosauruses. From the shadows, Copper noticed the tired Cerato and took the chance to struck him in the neck, and just like that, Casper had become food for the starving Baryonyx. One last Cerato to worry about. Copper headed towards the forest line, not noticing that something was hidden inside it. Welcome to the lab. A group of scientists have been experimenting on the dinosaurs of the ecosystem, and with that, the mutants are ready to go out. Here we'll be releasing increasingly dangerous hybrids and dinosaur experiments to fight to the death in this laboratory yard, and later they might just make their way to the mainland. But for now, the first specimen is entering. Coral, a mixture of Spino and Ceratopsian DNA, flaunting a bright red color to intimidate. But will that affect our next most genetically strong tank of a hybrid? And it's an amazing one. Entering the lab is Ivory and Arvin, our Z-Biotic sponsor. Scattered with spikes and devastating horns, they are nothing less than a defensive bioengineered weapon. And already the white Ivory does not like company, striking multiple blows and forcing Coral to run away. She isn't trying to take her chance, especially with multiple scarier hybrids coming in. But outside, the pressure of dominance is tightening, with Torp scattering for a place to stay and finding himself too close to Ink's crater. The Triceratops' strong horns is able to do some serious damage. The Baryonyx's teeth barely breaking the thick skin. The other is bashed by Juno, bent on revenge for his fallen brother, badly injuring Copper and claiming the territory for himself. Little did they know a large wave of new hungry dinosaurs are about to go into the ecosystem. But it looks like we have another ecosystem forming under our noses, the Muddy Creek and the Rock Fields, where a healthy pack of Uronosaurus and Syntosauruses trudge the wet vegetated mud, and the Metrodons happily living off small fish and probably the bigger herbivores' poop. This marsh is rich in minerals and swamp plants to eat, and will meet their own set of bizarre vicious dinosaurs later. But for now, little swarms of Deinonychus are looking to terrorize it first. Near the edge, a dead Uronosaurus is feeding many of the smaller bottom feeders, gathering around meat piles as a mean of survival. That sounds like just the formula of fighting. A couple of scratches flew in, and the Dimetrodon replied with an embarrassing headbutt. They're just play fighting, guys. Unlikely these fights ever lead to any Anyways, across the barren rock field, some carnivores arrive smelling the stench of rotting flesh. This pack of multicolored Dilophosaurus approaches the Muddy Creek, where the meat piles are already scarce enough for everyone's liking. But they're quickly reminded that this isn't their home. A reckless Dilophosaurus killed, and the others are activated to go in. It looks like the pack is here to avenge his brother. Okay bro, what the flip. Instead, their toxic spray is well enough to disorientate and keep the Deinonychus away, leaving space for the pack to attempt to hunt. They chase down a Synthosaurus, but spotting the raptors early, it outruns them. Fortunately for the Dilophos, another one just happened to be easier prey. However, they just haven't perfected their skills in this foreign environment. Oof, awkward. The herbivores can rest for now, but not for long because a fan favorite just happened to smell some meat passing by. Pyro and his two siblings are about to do some serious damage. But what's been going on outside? Copper has been collecting a growing list of enemies, and wounds reminding him that the Triceratops rule. Unbeknownst to him, Juno has been stalking him and with his wounds, finished off the poor Baryonyx to avenge his brother. Rest in peace, Copper. And Ink was angry, but he couldn't do anything about it yet. Artie, on the other hand, is living off the ecosystem, sustaining on the large population of Dryasauruses. But currently in year 15, everything is soon about to change with our first big natural event just around the corner, and the dinosaurs are preparing by loading up on food, using the strategy of simply crashing to the large prey to hunt it. The Dilophosaurus got better at hunting in pairs. I mean absolutely getting kicked out of his mind first. I think he's concussed, but they successfully got a huge meal. When they went for the Carnotaurus is when everything went wrong, each getting hurled away from it, and when they try again, they get omega thrown to their deaths. Yeah, you're not getting up from that, buddy. Well, Pyro and the Carnos are definitely the apex predators here. Okay, you didn't have to do that. But we're about to see some new ones for the mainland. The Drought. With the years, the once lush lands are now beneath the blazing sun, accompanied by zero rain, dried up shrinking rivers, and winds whispering an extremely hot heat wave. Across the now arid landscape and dry plants, here water and plant resources significantly decreases, but smaller food options are more abundant with now goats being available. This and the ecosystem just now happens to be in the drought migration path of many upcoming dinosaurs. Like first the Gallimimus, running here away from hotter regions up north. They are not far from their cousins who are not having the best time. Luckily, they are much faster and bigger, making harder targets. But unlucky for them, bigger carnivores I do have. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna show you right after this. Allosaurus. Violent and hungry, we have Gecko and the more restless Astro. They drool in curiosity, while some others like the Parasaurolophus and Pachycephalosaurus came previously attracted to the flowering plants. Astro headed towards the forest instead, where much of our herbivores are hiding from the heat. But his excitement is soon met with terrifying stomps. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of the food chain, and he stumbled upon this dry land in search of water and food. Let's keep count of his kills. Surely the carnivores would kneel in fear meeting this giant. Anyways, the other carnivores had been endlessly fighting for food. Red with blood, even the herbivores turned to each other. The Triceratops seem to be holding their ground pretty well, but that will of course change very soon. For now, the new kids on the block are getting to know the landscape and testing out their new ecosystem. Meanwhile, other deadlier testing subjects are just about to be released. Ivory has been bullying Coral, wounded and beaten, but the Red Ceratops can still put up a fight. She's been surviving so far, but with newly collected mutations from the drought, now they got Spinoraptors to worry about too. These meat-eating mutants scanned their competition and confident it can go for our Z-Biotic sponsor. Okay, maybe not today, that was shameful. Well, teamwork isn't really their best skill, and Coral takes advantage of that, taking the lone raptors out first. Right now, the Triceratops' only worry is taking each other out, but those Spinoraptors were just the appetizers. This is what the whole ecosystem should fear. The Indominus Rex, turning a cool white to blend into the lab. It spent no time to collect his first victim, ripping Coral's neck. But before anyone can take in what just happened, the lab signals a new life form. The Indoraptor, forged with the colors and biomass harvested from the muddy creek. He is ready to kill. And Ivory was just passing by. The white Stegoceratops got a nice slam in, wounding the Indoraptor badly before it clawed a deep strike back. It calculated that this fight is not in his favor. In most instances, the genetically modified herbivores can defend themselves even from the Indominus Rex, as he runs away, turning green out of embarrassment. While it gets ready to fight though, I'm introducing another hybrid. Yes, I am not letting any of them rest with the Scorpius Rex, now adding into the mix some black poisonous spines and horrifying teeth only a mother can love, who will survive the lab and later make their way to the main ecosystem. While the Indoraptor tried intimidating the Scorpius and quickly takes a deadly tail whip, killing it instantly. He's not here to play. It was the Indominus Rex's turn and he sized the new competition down. But again, a sharp black tail comes flying towards him instead. The small guy was much stronger than he anticipated, and you see, injected from the black spines of the Scorpius is a dangerous poison, forcing this Rex to rest and hopefully heal up. Unfortunately, weakened from the poison, Arvin snuck up and is able to strike a fatal blow. It's the Stegoceratops against the Scorpius now, and Ivory struck the black mutant, injuring it the most, again not leaving the battle without being poisoned. The Scorpius Rex flurries in a fit of rage, shredding Arvin with scratches and poison, ultimately leaving him to a slow, painful death, as Arvin takes the last of his labored breath, killing him. Now it's Ivory versus the Scorpius. Who will leave the gates to the ecosystem? Well, first in our main ecosystem, the drought is at its hottest point, and the dinosaur is as stressed and frustrated as ever. Remember, there are 2 more natural events that will happen super soon, and trust me, you really can't believe how any dinosaur could survive the last one. But let's see what everyone's been up to. Well, for the new guys like Gecko, getting the hang of hunting is one thing, but going up against Ink, who's been here since the start, is something else, knocking him clean. Yet Astro, the other Allosaurus, still tries to fight. Ink, who will defend his crater with all his might outbites the overconfident Allosaurus too. The fishes is worth all the injuries. On the other side, Artie had been everywhere with no luck on food, but rather wounds covering his body. Weakened, the poor Ceratosaurus rests. This is his final sleep. But finally awakened from the forest is our giant T-Rex, deciding to pick a fight with a big competition already, Torp. A battle finally deciding which will come on top, T-Rex or Triceratops. I guess sometime else. For now, the scattering Dryosaurus will do. Even the neighboring Torosaurus gets bullied. Poor guy defended himself though. Go free, my child. But everyone is suffering, and an Apatosaurus dead from dehydration became a very dependent source of food. Water as scarce as ever, and herbivores lucky enough to scrape a few puddles. Sounds extremely sad, right? So let's add more dangerous dinosaurs to make it even worse. Like the don't forget the subscribosaurus. Please subscribe. Anyways, the Stegosaurus is making an entrance. The T-Rex actually tried taking down a Stego multiple times but failed each time. Even other carnivores too. I think they're stegophobic. Even got this white Stegosaurus beating his own brothers and sisters. What a freak. The Australovenators, coming down from forested mountains, fast and vicious, they're looking for prey. I mean, Exhibit A. You're so dreamy. And in the rock fields, their own Ankylosaurus. Safe to say the muddy creek and fields have been absolutely dominated by the Carnotaurus, and these different colored boulder weapons will contend them. For now they're thirsty, and our large carnivores had been thirsty for territory as well, with our T-Rex and Allosaurus Astro striking each other with struggled bites. Both went their way. But no, look, who's in the bushes? This just shows how well our Ostras can camouflage, and our herbivores need to be more cautious. Same goes to our Muddy Creek dinosaurs as our next dangerous titan is coming in. Stepping from the darkness is the Tarbosaurus. Transported here from our maze video, he's settling in just nicely. Unlike our Carnos who's been wrestling our new spiky friends, it bites the tough armor and the Ankylo replies with a large blow. Trying to attack back, the spike ball tackles it first. Yeah, just give up bro, it's okay. But the Tarbo on the other hand is another level, going for the neck of the Ankylosaurus and viciously eliminates it. Our last Ceratosaurus Juno seems skittish, and the Australovenators are outwitting the herbivores into an afternoon snack. But something is making our herbivores come out of hiding. Something is brewing in disguise. Our dinosaur, clasping on their final surge of energy to survive, is about to experience the next big natural event. Following the deadly drought, the ecosystem recovers with a devastating storm. This recovery phase floods the whole scape of the mainland ecosystem, leaving almost no corners without water, obviously increasing the water supply significantly, as well as the vegetation that sporadically grew across the terrains. And this will definitely attract many dinosaurs that will come super soon. But this isn't all good. Yes, you see, despite the herbivores having newfound strength and energy, able to feed on waterlogged plants, with the flooding, the water will slow down any runners significantly, putting the carnivores at a slight advantage in terms of hunting. Not to mention, the heavy rains had broken down the walls between the mainland and the Muddy Creek. And you know who that land belongs to. The Carnos are already curious and heading towards the forest line. But that's not all, as increased humidity had short-circuited the gates of the lab, opening the world to the horrors of genetic mutated dinosaurs. Yes, everyone, and now our hybrids are about to meet. But that won't be the end of the lab, don't worry. Firstly, territory for herbivores are back to claim, and Brute takes it from a poor Torosaurus by slamming it hard and wounding it badly, with a strong blow to the head, killing it. Same goes to our Allosaurus Astro, who thought he could challenge the T-Rex to become the new alpha. That didn't really work out too much. Though speaking of alphas, when a strong Bonnie comes looking for shelter in the lab, another apex had been waiting inside, stopping to leave Bonnie alive because the Rex smelled freedom as the exit of the lab presented itself. Bonnie laid weakly, and the Scorpius is not one to leave victims alive, killing Bonnie and the first to take down a Triceratops. So it goes outside the mainland and hunted. Blood dripping from its serrated teeth, it has never tasted anything this good. Oh, this is bad. Even so, we've got new company to worry about too. The duck-looking Dinochirus. Very good water traversers and wants to munch on the water weeds swept into these lands. It has very long sharp claws, unlike the pack of Myosauruses and Iguanodons whose feature comes in the form of meaty legs and beaks. But with sharper claws, the Therizinosaurus is not one to underestimate. A herbivore that will not be so easy to hunt. Well, how about with hungrier concavenators looking to disrupt the herbivores' lives here? Will any of these stand a chance with our Scorpius who's been having a field day eating anything on its path, and basically violently testing his surroundings, sometimes even biting its prey and letting the poison do the work for him. What the? Well, the larger carnivores had made their way into the mainland too, hunting the now pretty abundant thriving herbivores. Ink specifically is in his element, taking down a stegosaurus for a large meal as he sticks to the waterline. And that is not an easy victim. Over at the empty lab, some sneaky few is looking to claim the new nesting territory. An ostra killing a Dilophosaurus who had the same idea as itself. Back in the start, the Scorpius Rex's kill counter is not stopping, even goes as far as striking a poisonous whip to the Therizinosaurus, allowing Ink to step in and kill the weakened Therizino as it steps into his water den. Okay, mister, cover up at least. Anyways, that's a lot of food for our last baryonyx, and everyone seems just riled up. Surprisingly, death numbers increase so much during this phase for some reason. Is there something in the water? But there is tension for sure. In the undergrowth, where Brute is still bullying his brother Torp, pushing him around and out of his section of the bushes. The Archaeos seem to have found a spot to hide from all the disturbance outside. Well, that's if Pyro don't get to you guys first, while his brothers on the other hand prefers the meteor meals of the forest. And again, Juno himself has been leaving a trail of dead bodies too. And this white stego is still fighting his own species. What a weirdo. Yet it looks like the lab has another survivor. Ivory, our Z-Biotic sponsored dino, had pushed the Scorpius away from itself, and in a storm it has found itself against a hungry Carno. It got a bite in, but Ivory is able to wound him enough. The lonely Ceratopsian had survived another harsh storm. Okay, why are these guys still at it? The Black Mutant, a force that the ecosystem had never seen before, and like in a non-stop rage, it kills many of the dinosaurs without question, going into battle without even thinking, and it seems like it's just programmed and born to feed. Then it comes across the Tarbosaurus. It was a long fight, with flurries of attacks going back and forth, and gradually toxic spines getting lodged into the Tarbo, the Scorpius Rex's skin breaking under immense force of the Tarbosaurus' jaw too. The red giant is extremely wounded and takes a rest to slow down the poison inside him. Okay, that's just rude. Recklessly, the Scorpius didn't rest. Instead, going for an Iguanodon that even poisoned badly, smacks the mutant and got devastating strikes in with its hooves. Of course, it died shortly after with a single slap from a Dinochirus. But like any force that relentlessly keeps going, as it comes face to face with Pyro, luckily for the Carnotaurus, the Iguanodon's hits were just deep enough to overpower the Scorpius Rex. The force is bound to fizzle out, and Pyro had killed the lab's most dangerous mutant. The herbivores rejoiced at the sight of the lifeless body, and now the ecosystem is looking like it's stabilizing itself. Juno is still active in trying to take down a Triceratops, and Ink is still firmly defending his crater from anyone possible. The dinosaurs calm down for a second, enjoying each of their territory and the mysteriously shaped crater. But a sudden roar in the sky is about to change everything. The apocalypse. Our dinosaurs survived the meteor shower that had devastated the lands. The ecosystem that was just about to flourish now lay barren and destroyed down to a field of rock and craters, some big enough to trap large dinosaurs. Now we know where the craters are from, a land that is bound to experience a catalyst and restart again. With no food and no water, there is simply just one challenge: to survive until the end. Our residents are recollecting themselves, and tiny patches of vegetation become the only desperate source of food for these herbivores. But there's something else. Meteors had crashed into the lab, leaving it abandoned and spewing all the biochemicals out, causing a floral bloom. This will be the only source of fibers for the herbivores, and carnivores will definitely take advantage of it. However, they'll come across the specimens of the lab who had broken out too. A pack of stronger Spinoraptors, mutated with something called the L1Z genome. Does anyone in the comments know it? Well, they'll play a key role in this apocalypse event, and already the T-Rex took no chance and quickly hunted the confused Iguanodons to feed up. And many new escaping dinosaurs made it to the ecosystem too, like the Cryolophosaurus. Older ones like Ivory and Juno found themselves in a clinch. Ivory hits our last Ceratosaurus and the impact is just too much for Juno. Weakened, he fell down and lets his body finally rest forever. Casper, Artie, looks down on the youngest Juno, and they're nothing but proud he made it this far. Rest in peace, Juno. The Spinoraptors had been naughty, standing their ground very well and weeding out trespassers who think they could bear the fruits of the lab. It looks like they have killed a lot of dinosaurs. Ink tries pushing a Dinochirus into a crater, but it escapes, putting a claw strike in. The Baryonyx underestimated the duck, like Pyro, who did the same to Torp, however leaving Torp very injured and lonely. For the rest, it is an endless battle for food, using a lot of energy to chase prey down just to find small wandering herbivores to eat usually will only sustain them for a while. For larger prey and food, they'll need to take risks. Like this Carno taking charge of the lab. He likes this place and makes sure everyone knows it. For the T-Rex, it is a big juicy Triceratops. Torp again. Pushed in the crater with sheer force, Torp lunges for a hit. The T-Rex goes in, scraping Torp's back, making enough space for him to run away again. The large carnivore now has to eat any scraps he can find. Scraps from Ink, who had become quite the hunter actually. Looky here, even the T-Rex is spooked by the little black ink. Again, somehow in the apocalypse, territory is still important. With Brute having to fight a lot of duck strikes from his private flower patch. He wins. The Carno defending his area, killing a Stego who just wants to eat. He's selfish, and Pyro and the T-Rex just staring in each other's beautiful eyes. It's year 97, and the Tarbo's weight cannot be sustained by the available resources. Starving, dehydrated, he decides to lay down, and like many others too. Yeah, it is not a good time to be a small Dracorex. For some, they form new skills like blending into the barren landscape to sneak up on their prey. Iguanodons fighting off Spinoraptors in the lab. And Pyro, well, he wants nothing of that. The harsh living conditions made him stressed and even more bloodlusted, sizing up everyone in a fit of rage and even getting close to Ink's crater, causing serious injuries from the guarding baryonyx across Pyro's eyes. Safe to say he's going a bit too hard here, and for once he's going to make a very big mistake. But the hot ash breeze blows over a now dead Tarbosaurus. This is proven to be the cruelest moment in time, and the display of very violent and desperate battles. Dismembered dinosaurs scatter across the lifeless field, but maybe things are looking forward. In the background of a cautiously drinking Stygimoloch, a large Dreadnoughtus towers over the dying ecosystem. It gazes over the landscape, and he's not just here to sightsee, no. Sprouting plants and trees had started to grow, a sign of life, and our dinos just need to hold on for a bit. Unfortunately, everyone's already at their edge. The Ankylosaurus killed the first Spinoraptor, causing waves of them to escape into the main ecosystem. Seeing the crater, the raptors pushed Brute down the crater with a strike. Stumbling, the Triceratops went for a tackle but horribly fell. Lucky for him, the Spinoraptor is too nervous to stay, while some carnivores had claimed other craters as their hunting grounds. Here, the dinosaurs are more battle experienced and survived for a reason. Outside the lab, one Carnotaurus is still denying access to his lush home. The Iguanodon hits back, but with little to no energy, overpowering it is just as easy for the satiated Carnotaurus. Pyro, smitten at all the food he's been getting, sees Torp as a hot meal and challenges him. The Triceratops braces for impact and answers with horns into Pyro's face. The Carno limps weakly and falls out of tiredness, killing the Carnotaurus. Torp has been through a lot, and with Pyro's death, the end of his journey is met with plants starting to grow, a flush of vegetation starting to recover from the fertile ashes in the air. Torp and Ivory is getting along very well, killing off one of the last apocalypse pests for the road. Torp had become besties with the genetically mutated Ivory. Both had been alone and scared in the world, now found friends in each other. Cheer on Ivory's journey by checking out Z-Biotics using the link in the description. And Brute, now the one forced to be alone. The T-Rex trumps as the superior carnivore in the whole ecosystem, and Ink is still enjoying his well-deserved fish. The crater is all his. The Ankylosaurus claimed the lab as his home, alongside the Iguanodon and the lone Carno. So finally, it looks like the mainland will recover once more, and our T-Rex goes away. It looks like he smelled something miles away. What could it be?